Well, I mean, if it's true, she's going to be facing criminal exposure, because if she did travel with this guy and she benefited from the perks that he extended to her, and he was a special prosecutor who were supposed to be, I guess they brought him in because they felt that he had expertise, or at least he wouldn't be part of the earlier deliberations and he would be perhaps more fair and judicious. So she defeated that purpose. But if she benefited with this liaison and she facilitated, I think she would face criminal exposure. But it brings up a couple of things, I think, in a wider context. All of the legal eagles who looked at these four cases, these four indictments, maybe putting Jack Smith's aside because it was a federal indictment, had all come to the consensus that Fani Willis had the most likely chance of succeeding, that Letitia James on the real estate thing was sort of bogus, and Alvin Bragg was even less serious. But Fani Willis, because of the phone call and the tension of the major parties in an election, they all felt that was at least the consensus. If that folds, I think it'll have a ripple effect. It will remind the public, and I think the legal community, that all of them were politically motivated. And this was the best chance that the people who were engaging in lawfare had to get Donald Trump.
All right, my friends, appreciate you joining me today. You got to get ready because it's showtime. J.R. Dukes at your service. I want to welcome all my free-minded friends back for another exciting episode. And folks, do I have a zinger for you today? Great news yet again for former President Donald Trump. The case against him out of Atlanta, Georgia, involving the Fulton County District Attorney there, the sweet Fani Willis. Well, guess what? She ended up hiring a prosecutor by the name of Nathan Wade, and it turns out that she has been paying him approximately $623,000 to date to prosecute Donald Trump. And guess what, folks? Published reports say they are lovers. All this came out because one of the co-defendants that she went after with that ruthless, inappropriate RICO Act found the goods on them in a divorce filing involving Mr. Nathan Wade. His soon-to-be ex-wife apparently has spilled the beans about him. Now, the court records have since been sealed, which of course is amazing. If it was me, you would never have records sealed. But obviously there's a ruling class, and they obviously get special perks, as we talk about all the time. But I don't want to digress. Here's the bottom line. If this is true, this is the end of this RICO case. It is the end of the careers of Fani Willis, and it's the end of the career of her lover, Nathan Wade. They probably both will be disbarred, if they're lucky, because they also face criminal prosecution for these type of actions. This is prima facie fraud. It's what I would call a breach of ethics at a minimum, and it is definitely corruption. There are fancy words that they use for these types of charges, but trust me, this is terrible news for them and great news for Donald Trump. If you're a big fan of Donald Trump, you should be smiling, because I promise you, Fani Willis is not a happy camper today. So let's get right into it.
So what is being alleged now by a lawyer whose name is Ashley Merchant? And she is the attorney for one of the defendants down there. Last name is Roman. And this guy, Roman, looking for his first name here, can't find it in front of me, but in any event, he's one of the co-defendants, Michael. He worked as director of Election Day operations for the Trump camp in 2020. Well, right now he's charged with 7 felony counts by Fani Willis. Conspiracy, trying to organize slates of Trump's electors, working with Trump to, get the election to go Trump's way in Georgia. He got indicted by Fani Willis. Actually, the grand jury wouldn't indict him, but she charged him anyway. And his lawyer is this Ashley Merchant, who has just filed a barn burner of a motion calling attention to what she says is a disgusting ethics breach by Fani Willis. She says that Fani Willis is in an inappropriate romantic relationship with the special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, who she brought in to help prosecute this RICO case against Trump and all the others. And that she and Nathan Wade have been having an affair, and that she named him special prosecutor the day before he filed for a divorce from his wife, and that she's been funneling payments to him for his work as a special prosecutor, and that he's been using those monies to then take Fani Willis on all these exotic vacations, traveling together to Napa Valley.
Ouch. Oh my goodness. That is so terrible. That is just really unbelievable. I cannot imagine how stupid she has to feel right now. Fani, this was stupid. What's the matter with you? I cannot believe this. You know what? What comes around goes around. And Fani is going to pay the price. She is obviously engaging in election interference. She's trying to take out Donald Trump. She's trying to deny us the ability to vote for the person we want to see in the White House. This, in my opinion, is a collusion by all these woke Democrats, all these nutty liberals. And now she is going to pay the price. Imagine how stupid you have to be to hire the person you're going to have essentially as your quarterback going after Donald Trump. You hire this guy the day before he gets a divorce from his current wife. You're obviously sleeping with him, having a relationship with him. Published reports that I have found state that they are currently living together. And it's not like they tried to hide this. They were seen on boats together, like Carnival Cruises and various other entities, various other companies that offer cruises. They were seen just having the greatest time all over the place. So basically, here's the allegation. She hires him. They get together. He divorces his wife. He ends up getting a boatload of money approved by her because she writes the checks and approves the checks to the tune of right about $624,000. He takes her out. I'm sure he's buying her things, buying her dinner, getting her tickets for vacation. Unbelievable, the stupidity people go through. But you know what, folks? When you go after people like this, you better make sure your own house is in perfect order, because what happens is the magnifying glass gets turned to you. I am a little surprised that Donald Trump's own lawyers did not have private investigators researching her life and seeing exactly what's going on in her closet, so to speak. This happened to come out because of this attorney working for Michael Roman, this Ashley, I forgot her last name already, but I looked her up online. She works right out of Cobb County, apparently on Whitlock Avenue. She seems to be a fantastic attorney, and she did the easy, simple footwork. She checked Cobb County records, found out this guy is getting a divorce. She read the papers and she got the juice. Pretty smart, pretty easy, very tenacious. Gotta love it. Let's get back into it.
Valley to Florida, cruising the Caribbean together, using tickets, quoting here from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, using tickets Wade purchased from Norwegian and Royal Caribbean cruise lines, and suggesting that the checks that were sent to this guy, Wade, Nathan Wade, from Fani Willis, Fulton County, and his subsequent purchases of vacations for Fani Willis could amount not only to a conflict of interest because she's using him to fund her life and to prosecute Trump, but to, quote, honest services fraud, a federal crime in which a vendor gives kickbacks to an employer. He would be the vendor, Fani Willis / Fulton County, the employer. It is possible this could also be prosecuted under the RICO statute, claims Ashley Merchant, the attorney for one of these defendants, in a motion. Now, that seems like a potential reach, though I don't know. But one other thing, Victor, and then I'll get you to weigh in on it, just in case people out there are thinking this is just, you know, the long shot Hail Mary of a co-defendant in this case. No, they went to Stephen Gillers, who, since I was in law school, is the guy you go to when you want an ethics opinion on what a lawyer has done. He literally wrote the textbook we all study before we take the bar exam on legal ethics. He's professor emeritus at NYU Law School, and he was interviewed by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for this. And said, I'm going to quote here. He said, a closer look at Fani Willis's decision-making is needed before it can be determined whether the indictment against this guy, this co-defendant of Trump's, should be dismissed. The allegations, if true, said Gillers, lead to the following conclusion. Fani Willis was conflicted in the investigation and prosecution of this case, and was not able to bring the sort of independent professional judgment her position requires. Well, as far as I can tell, all this would apply not just to this one defendant, Roman, but also to Donald Trump. Just because Roman's lawyer found it doesn't mean it's not going to benefit Trump and the other defendants. And not only, and I'll go on because Gillers adds to what he said, this doesn't mean her decisions were, in fact, improperly motivated, he says, but it does mean the public and the state as her client could not have the confidence in the independent judgment that her position required her to exercise. So this guy's suggesting she may have to go. The lawyer suggesting she may actually be subjected to criminal prosecution, depending on what comes out. And she is basing her allegations, this Ashley Merchant lawyer, that's the name of the lawyer, on the fact that, in part, she reviewed the divorce case in Wade's ongoing divorce proceeding, Nathan Wade's ongoing divorce proceeding, the guy who Fani's having the affair with, according to this motion. And she made copies of documents therein. Then this guy Wade's divorce file was later sealed. And because it's been sealed now, the lawyer Merchant can't share the information she got from the divorce file until that seal is lifted. She is asking a judge to unseal the divorce proceedings of Fani Willis's alleged affair partner and special prosecutor in this case. Okay, I'm done. What do you make of it all?
Folks, I just want to say briefly again, this is so obvious how people that are wealthy, people that have connections, how they're treated different than you or me. This individual was able to quickly get his files sealed so no one could see it. This is something that should not be allowed because obviously we have the right to know as a public. And the fact is, an individual in this position, he needs to live his life as an open book, especially if he's filing for divorce.
Well, I mean, if it's true, she's going to be facing criminal exposure because if she did travel with this guy and she benefited from the perks that he extended to her, and he was a special prosecutor who were supposed to be, I guess they brought him in because they felt that he had expertise, or at least he wouldn't be part of the earlier deliberations and he would be perhaps more fair and judicious. So she defeated that purpose. But if she benefited with his liaison and she facilitated, I think she would face criminal exposure. But it brings up a couple of things, I think, in a wider context. All of the legal eagles who looked at these four cases, these four indictments, maybe putting Jack Smith's aside because it was a federal indictment, had all come to the consensus that Fani Willis had the most likely chance of succeeding, that Letitia James on the real estate thing was sort of bogus, and Alvin Bragg was even less serious. But Fani Willis, because of the phone call and the tension of the major parties in an election, they all felt that was at least the consensus. If that folds, I think it'll have a ripple effect. It will remind the public, and I think the legal community, that all of them were politically motivated. And this was the best chance that the people who were engaging in lawfare had to get Donald Trump. The other thing is, this isn't the first time we've seen one of these Soros-supported prosecutors come into conflict with the law. We had Kim Fox in Chicago, remember, with Jussie Smollett, and she had to be overridden. We had the Baltimore prosecutor, I think the one in St. Louis. Out here in California, we've had
Marilyn
Tracy
Mosby in
Boudin.
Baltimore. Marilyn Mosby.
Yes, Baltimore, Carolyn Mosby.
Yeah, these were all individuals that either went after Trump or indirectly went after Trump, and they ended up having their own lives examined, and now they're in trouble for various problems, various crimes. I know that this Mosby, public records, at least on Wikipedia, says she was indicted by a federal grand jury on 4 counts of perjury and making false statements on loan applications. So you got to be careful when you start throwing stones. If you live in a glass house, well, you know how that goes.
We have Gascon facing. So all of them, I think, are finally coming under scrutiny. And it's kind of ironic, or maybe it's nemesis at work, that they were so confident and so boastful in some of their public campaigns for office that they were going to get Trump and they were going to do this and this. And all they did is bring scrutiny into their careers that couldn't bear scrutiny. And so that's kind of ironic, and it's good
It's
news.
a good point. I hadn't considered that. Marilyn Mosby, she too facing charges out there for mismanaging state funds, for getting a home loan during COVID that really was just meant to get her a better mortgage rate, if memory serves. It wasn't for COVID. And so she's no longer in office, and now she's dealing
I forgot
with
the
her
name
own
of the
legal
St. Louis
problems.
prosecutor. I think the St. Louis prosecutor that went after the couple that was armed, she's facing problems as well. I think she's
right.
stepped down. Yeah,
This one, I mean, this one's huge, Victor, because this woman she's made a national name for herself through this case by going after Donald Trump. You know, she was going to be the ethical one to take him down for mistreating the Georgia election workers and the Georgia election system. And now we find out, according to, again, I'm reading from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is reporting on the motion that she filed, that the lawyer filed, saying, so keep in mind, she's the DA, all right? This is Fani Willis is the DA. She authorizes the compensation of a special prosecutor she's bringing on, like Nathan Wade, and that he's been paid so far almost $654,000 in legal fees. The allegation, of course, being that they then turned around and went to the Caribbean together, and they went to Florida together, and they went on. Fani Willis is loving the position of special prosecutor. If any of this is true, she's going away. She is not going to be allowed to prosecute Trump anymore on this case.
And she has. And all of these prosecutors have made various motions, especially Jack Smith, but even the local ones, that they wanted urgency. They wanted to hasten these cases before the election. And if they're so in a hurry, how they have time to go to the Caribbean or Napa or to junk it all around? You think they would be working 24/7 as they claimed. And, you know, both conservative and left-wing lawyers who weigh in social media, on TV, they always say the same thing. Well, we don't, brag is a joke, and Lita James, but Fani Willis has got the goods on Trump. This phone call is a lot of criminal exposure. And if this thing blows up, and I think it has a good chance of, I think it will have consequences with all of.
Yeah, I think this guy is pretty well spot on. I don't necessarily agree that the Fani Willis case is the most important case. However, I could be wrong. It was basically a toss-up between this case in Atlanta and probably the documents case. However, I think with the documents case, I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Most people have said that that's the number one case, and I just don't think so. And that's because Donald Trump had the absolute sole right to declassify anything and everything he wanted while he was president. And a lot of times when the courts look to see if you declassified something or basically what your intention was with your act, they look at everything in its entirety. And if you remove, for example, records that are classified and you put them in a non-classified situation, then your actions speak that you have chosen to declassify. Now, that's just my opinion. We'll have to see where that goes. Now, in relation to Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, I am telling you, I agree with Megyn Kelly 100%. If these allegations are true, and I have to emphasize that because we don't know, but if these allegations are true, they are toast. They are done. They will not be allowed to prosecute Donald Trump or the other so-called defendants in this case. And I can assure you one thing an attorney does not want to do is come back behind another attorney and pick up their case and run with it. They don't want to do that. There's no joy in it for them to do that. They're doing all the work, and if they're successful, another attorney, in this case Fani Willis, would get the credit for it. It's just been my experience that they don't want nothing to do with someone's second case if they get removed off the case. We'll have to see exactly how this works out, but my personal opinion is this case is done with a capital D-O-N-E. It's over because this case cannot go forward because it involves fraud. It involves criminal activity. It involves a crime called honest service fraud. This case is done. What a great thing for Donald Trump. This woman is going to get what she deserves. She is engaging, in my opinion, in only what can be described as election interference. And I hope she gets what's coming to her along with all the people that enabled her. Shame on you, Fani Willis, and I hope you get what you deserve. So we'll just have to wait and see. Let me know if you agree with me or disagree. Put in the comments below. Always love to talk with you and have a conversation with you. And make sure if you haven't done so, hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to subscribe. Please share the video with other people that may be indoctrinated. They need to hear the truth. They need to know what's going on in the world and hear it from someone like me that will tell you the facts and tell you the truth, no matter what the truth might be, whether it's pleasant or comfortable for a Republican or a Democrat. I give it to you straight. My friends, until next time, keep that mind free and never give up. I am J.R. Dukes.